Thank you for joining us for this week's message at Crosswind Church. If you have any questions about this message or about Crosswind Church, please visit us at www.crosswindchurch.net, or you can email us at info@crosswindchurch.net.
You're welcome. That song gets in your head and it doesn't go away, and I've been singing it all week long. You're welcome for that. Well, my name is Jeremy, and I'm the pastor here at Crosswind Church. I'm so thankful that you have joined us here. I know that I say this a lot because I get excited about all the things we talk about here at Crosswind, but this series is one, just so you know, it's been 7 or 8 years in the making. I've wanted to preach on this for a long, long time. We just haven't had an opportunity. And then finally this year, all of the kind of stars aligned, and we get to do this. We talk about dating and relationships and sex and kind of all that entails. Before we dive into the series, I want to tell you why this is something that has intrigued me for a while. See, when I was in high school and when I was in college, I thought that I understood everything there was to know about the opposite sex. I thought that I knew everything I need to know about relationships and about sex and about dating. I had watched the movies and I had seen, read the books, and I just knew everything's going to happen. And then I got a little older and I got married, and I realized I didn't know anything. Right? I realized I was so lost. And still am. And so what's interesting is after 17 years of being married, and after 18 years this spring of being in the ministry, I've gotten to talk to a lot of couples. I've gotten to talk to a lot of folks that are dealing with relationships and marriages and that sort of thing. And there's some things that along the way you just kind of take note of and go, hey, people should know that. And I wish that I had known some of the things that I knew before I ever got married. And so that's where this series kind of comes from. We just want to take a few weeks and just kind of talk about some things that if you've been married for any amount of time, you know on some level. You may not be able to, we'll hopefully verbalize it for you. You'll be able to have some words to go with the things that you know already. And so, for instance, one of the things we're going to kind of lay a foundation to build the series on two kind of main truths. The first truth is this: your past and your present will eventually affect your future. Okay, your past and your present will eventually affect your future. Now, if you're here and you're single, your mindset is probably like mine was. No, it won't. No, it won't, right? Because listen, what I'm doing now is one thing. Like the way that I treat women and the way that I go out with men, and it's just a hookup. It's just a one-night stand. It's just that those things don't really matter. Physicality in relationships, none of that matters. I'm not gonna. When I get married, when I finally marry somebody, that's when it's gonna matter. Pics that I've sent of myself to other guys, the pics that I've sent myself to girls, none of that's gonna matter anymore. When I get married, that's my future. When I get married, all my past doesn't matter. And if you've been married for any amount of time, here's what you know: your past and your present will eventually affect your future. Let me tell you. One day, you will meet the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Hopefully. And when you'll have to sit across from them at some point in the process of getting to know them and have a conversation where you talk about your past. And you talk about the people that you've gone out with and the people that you've hooked up with and the things that you have done in the past. And listen, if you're honest with your future spouse, then you will have to deal with the ramifications of your past in your future. Your past and your present stay with you into your future. If you lie about it to your spouse, it doesn't mean it goes away. It just comes back differently because it will burn inside of you and eat inside of her and destroy the relationship with him if you don't talk about it, you're not honest with it. So that your past and your present will eventually become your future. The second thing that's just a truth, and you have to stick with me for a little bit before you realize it's the truth. But it's a truth that we're going to kind of lay as a foundation as to why we're doing this series, is this. There are, in 18 years of pastoral care, being married for 17 years, here's what I know. There are no such thing as married people problems. Okay? Now, married people are going, you need to come see my marriage, right? We got all kinds of married people problems. There's no such thing as married people problems. Here's what I know. Marriage problems, married people problems are this. Do I squeeze the toothpaste from the middle of the tube or the bottom of the tube? Marriage problems are, does the toilet paper go over or under the roll? Do we get smooth peanut butter or chunky peanut butter or 2 jars of peanut butter? That is a married person problem. No. What you have, what we see in our marriages is this. We see single people problems that people bring into marriage. Let me explain. Those that aren't married. Those that get married, you get this. Those that aren't married. What marriage does is it magnifies everything. It's like a big, giant magnifying glass that just shines on your life, right? And so if you have a problem when you're single, that problem is going to be magnified in your marriage. If you have a problem with insecurities when you're single, when you meet your spouse, all those insecurities don't just go away. No, they get magnified, don't they, right? If you have problems managing your money when you're single and you get married, you're going to have problems with money in your marriage. It gets magnified. If you have an anger problem or a drug problem when you're single, or an alcohol problem or a pornography problem, marriage doesn't cause that to go away. It magnifies the problem. And here's what every married person we could pass around a mic, they would say this on some level. This is what they would say, single people. They would go, it's tons easier to deal with my single people problems before I become a married people. It's so much easier to deal with single people problems when you're single than when you're married. And so that's why we wanted to do this series. We thought, man, what if we could say some of these things that we've learned to some of you guys before you get started? Some of you guys, like my daughter, that are in middle school. Some of you that are in here that are divorced and you're wanting to go into a next marriage, or you're thinking about somebody else and you're going, okay, before I enter into this relationship, how can we get you started out on the best foot, right? Those are the types of things that we kind of want to talk about, because we know that your past and your present will eventually affect your future, and there's no such thing as married people problems, just single problems that you bring into marriage. Now, here's the thing that you're going to kind of push back on. There's 2 main groups that are going to kind of push back on this series. The first is married people. Because you're sitting there, you're going, well, listen, this is great, but it's a little late for me because I'm already in this marriage thing and there's nothing else that I can do. And listen, I get that. Don't check out, though, because here's the thing I want you to know. The principles that we're saying, whether you are married or not, are true. And if you're already married, then you can start applying them now. We can't fix the past, but you can start applying some of these things today and hopefully build your marriage into what it was that God intended to be. Okay? So that's the first group that's going to push back. The second group that's going to push back are the people that just flat out don't believe me. And maybe it's because you're in you're single and you're like dating a lot and you're waiting to Tinder and you're swiping right on everybody and like you're in the bar scene, you're hooking up and it doesn't bother you very much right now and it hasn't really caught up to you so much right now. And if that's you, I get it. I'm glad you're here. This is maybe what you need to do. Maybe you need to download the audio on a little thumb drive and stick it in your pocket, or download the audio from these messages and stick it in the drawer, because there will be a time, statistically proven, there will be a time where this catches up with you. And when it does, I want you to know where to go. I want you to know what to look to. And I want you to know how to make, your next relationship better. How to make your first marriage your only marriage. And how to make your next marriage your last marriage. You with me? You with me? And so that's why we're building this series. And so to start, today we want to attack a myth. We want to attack something that society tells us. And it's so important that we kind of deal with this on the front end, because the myth that we're going to talk about today is one that is ingrained in you from the time you're a toddler. It's ingrained in you by society, and when you're the smallest of human beings. And if we're honest if I'm honest with you, the fault lies with Disney. It's Disney's fault. Okay? Here's why. Now, we're big fans of Disney. Last spring break, we took our kids down to Disney World, and we saw the mouse and all that kind of stuff. And spent way too much money, but it's fun. Anyway, so we go down there. My girls, since they were so little, have been obsessed with princesses. Oh, princesses. And we've had princess dresses, and we've worn princess dresses, and we've met princesses, and we've worn princess shoes, and we wear princess tiaras, right? And even like next Saturday's daddy-daughter dance at Union City Elementary School, and my daughter, Abby, is going to dress up, and she's going to feel like a princess. That's the goal. Like, she just loves that, okay? And all the princess movies, at least most of them until recently, thanks, Lorna, right? But all of them kind of involve this same type of scenario. There's a princess, and there's a prince, and they don't know that the other one exists. And ultimately, the movie is a series of events that push the two of them together. And when the right person, the prince, meets the right woman, the princess, and he slays the dragon and gets rid of the evil stepmother and breaks all the curses with true love's first kiss, the right people get together and they share a kiss and they get on a white horse and they ride off to the castle and they live. You've seen the movies. You've read the books. Okay, this is it. Watch. This idea that all dating is the right people finding each other and that everything works out is a myth. It's a fairy tale, okay? What it tells us is what we call the right person myth. And what it tells us is this. If I just meet the right person, I don't have to be a whole human being. I don't even have to be a good human being. If I meet the right person, then everything will just be okay. And I don't have to work on me. I don't have to try to figure anything out, because when I meet the right person, everything will just kind of work. Everything will just kind of click, right? And so I know that I've got an anger problem, but I don't have to work on my anger problem. The reason I don't have to work on my anger problem is because when I meet the right person, there's nothing she will ever do to make me angry. And if I have an insecurity problem, then I don't ever have to work on my insecurities, because when I meet the right person, then he will never do anything that will make me feel insecure about myself. And many people, you laugh, right? Because you understand that's a myth. This idea that all I have to do. And so what happens is we start looking for the right person. From the time we're little, we start looking around and surveying the culture and going, well, does this person kind of meet the criteria to be the right person I'd like to spend with? And when we buy into the right person myth, we immediately begin to view dating as a consumer kind of product, as a consumer. Meaning that I'm looking around and I'm actually shopping for a spouse. And when I do that, I actually devalue human beings, and I start looking at them as a product rather than as a human being that's made in the image of God. So I went to college and went out with a girl one time, and she had a list of 50 things that Mr. Right would have. 50 things. And some of them were, some of you are going, my list only has 2, right? You're behind on the, anyway, she had 50 things, and some of them made sense, like she wanted them to be a believer, Others were a little different, like she wanted them to wear a watch. And she wanted them to have belts that matched their outfits or whatever. It was just this long list. It doesn't matter that I got 48 out of 50. But it doesn't matter about any of that. She had this list, right, that she had. And she then kind of shopped. And the idea that comes from the right person myth is that I can kind of shop around for human beings and customize my mate like you customize a car or order a Big Mac. The problem with that, aside from devaluing human beings, the problem with that is you always end up with buyer's remorse. Because here's what we know. There's no human being that can meet every need, erase every insecurity, solve every problem, fill every gap. And so when we find Mr. Right or Mrs. Right that meets our criteria, that we've shopped for and customized and put together, then they don't meet up, they don't add up, they don't fill that gap in us. Then we say, well, that must not be the right person. And so we decouple and we go find the next Mr. Right, or we go find the next Mrs. Right. Let me tell you where this leads. If you enter sexual maturity at 13 years old or so, and you're getting married now later in life, you get married at 30 or so, that's the better part of 2 decades that's spent coupling and uncoupling and coupling and uncoupling and coupling and uncoupling. You want to know something that's kind of cool? Both Christians and non-Christians have the same response to this. They hate it. Both believers and non-believers. They go, I'm empty. This is supposed to free up my sexuality, and really it's put bondage on me. And if I had to describe my relationship process, the dating process, in 3 words, it is frustrating, it is anxiety, it is regret, it is guilt, it is shame. That's what comes from that. Because I bought into the right person myth. Still don't believe me? Let me paint a scenario here. Imagine you're out at an event, you're at a party, you're at a bar. You guys wouldn't go to bars. You're at Taco Bell. You're at Taco Bell, and across the room, you see that guy, you see that girl. She's got a nice smile. So you circle the room, you get the whole 360 view, right? Everything seems to be good. She looks across at you, she sees, I don't know, that your belt matches your clothes, I don't know, and you make your way to one another, and you begin talking. Something just clicks. It's just, oh. And you're talking about everything, and you're sharing intimate details about your life you never thought you'd share. And there's all this chemistry, and you stay up talking till 4 in the morning, and you fall asleep on your phones, and you wake up the next day, and you go, it's it. I met him. I'm 16 years old, and I'm done. This is the one I'm going to be with, right? I'm 26 years old and I'm done, right? Doesn't matter your age, right? You meet that person and you have all this chemistry and things just kind of go. And you're not worried about the fact that you've got these problems and she's got these problems or he's got these problems. Doesn't matter. Because it's clear that we're right for each other, right? And you say things like, no one has ever loved like we love. And you say things like, you complete me, and other Jerry Maguire quotes. Like you use it all. Like it's just so perfect. Like things are just so great. And then things get physical, and sex gets involved, and that complicates things. In fact, sex always complicates things. We'll talk about that next week. Come back, we'll talk about sex. Okay, so sex always complicates. The sex gets involved. Now you're feeling things that you don't really feel. You're in a relationship that may be good, it may be bad. It doesn't matter because you've been physical with one another. There's a connection that's there that you feel. It's tangible. Our brains are telling us that it's there. And then you decide, this is the one for me. And guys, you go out and find a ring. You plan an elaborate proposal. And she says yes. There's pictures. And then you plan a destination wedding. And you recruit guys and girls that are spending $1,000 each to go fly to your destination wedding and rent dresses and tuxes. And you go there and you stand barefoot on the beach and you pledge your life to one another in front of God and these people and some pastor that you're paying. Like, listen, come on, you go and you have this wedding, and everything seems good, and you have built this entire thing around chemistry. But guess what? Now you're in a relationship. And you never once thought about needing to prepare yourself for a relationship. You know why? Because you have all kinds of chemistry. Well, guess what happens after you get married? It may take a little while, it may take longer for some of you, but eventually, you have relationship problems, not chemistry problems. And the relationship problems get so big and so out of control that you're at each other all the time, and guess what suffers now? Now the chemistry suffers. And now the guy in the marriage, most often the guy in the marriage, says, I know what we need to do. If chemistry is suffering, here's the way we fix bad chemistry in a marriage. We just have more sex. Don't nudge your husband. And the wife, she goes, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's going to fix our chemistry problems. I tell you what, though, I'm longing for a relationship, but I don't quite know how to fix that in our marriage. So you know what we should do? We should have a baby. And the dude goes, well, that would involve sex. I'm in. Right? And so you have a baby, and this is really important. You introduce a human being into a relationship that's even more dysfunctional, and it doesn't solve anything. But you had such chemistry, and that's why you got together. Now every single person in the room, or at least most of you, are hearing me describe that scenario and going, that's not me. Who could be? I'm not going to be that dumb. Who could be that dumb? And every married person right now is doing their best to not look at their spouse, just eyes straight ahead. Right? Because listen, you think you're unique. You're not that unique. There's only about 4 different scenarios. They all play out about the same way. It's just true. That's why, Tommy, I'm not a good counselor. If there's only 4, and we can figure it out real quick. Here's the deal, right? It's a tale as old as time. And because we buy into this right person myth, it happens over and over and over and over again. You guys have either been on that road, or you're getting ready to get on that road, or you're on that road right now. So what I want to do is I want to give you a tool. I'm going to use the Bible to actually teach you a tool that can help you with the right person myth. And even though I'm using the Bible, what I love about this is you can take this and tell it to all your friends that don't believe the Bible. Because the thing is that even our people that don't believe in Jesus or the Bible, they still think that there's something wrong with the dating world. They still think there's something wrong with this kind of hookup culture. And so you can at least sell it with them and go, listen, what you're doing isn't working, so let's try this, right? It's from the Bible. It's a tool. And here's the thing. The tool I'm going to give you is not how do I find the right person. That's not a tool. In fact, if we were to go to the Bible and just kind of survey and say, how do people find their spouses in the Bible? We would find some really terrible examples of how they did it. I mean, Deuteronomy chapter 21 says that if you take over a foreign country and you see one of the people there, one of the women in the foreign country, and she's attractive to you, I'm not making that up, it says it, Deuteronomy 21, and you like her, and you can take her, bring her home, shave her head, trim her fingernails, give her new clothes, and she's your wife. Don't do that. That's bad, right? How about in Judges chapter 21, when the Benjaminites needed to find that's a mouthful. When the Benjaminites needed to find new wives, you know what they did? They waited until another village was having a party, and they went and kind of hid so that no one could see them. And when the young single woman came out to dance at the party, they ran out, grabbed one, and took her back home, and she became his wife. That's a bad idea. That's kidnapping in our society. The Bible doesn't give us a whole lot of helpful information about how to find the right person. But here's what it does. Here's the key I'm going to give you. Here's the tool I'm going to give you. It does tell us how to become the right person. So what I want to challenge you to do is this. Stop looking for the right person and start becoming the right person. So that one day when you meet the right person, you're ready. One day you meet the right person, you're complete and you're whole. Then your marriage, then your relationship can be all that God intended it to be. Now, if you're here today and you're married already, let me just tell you, this works for you too. Because you can go home and you can start practicing these things. And you can start working on these things now. And it may, in fact, just help your marriage. Surprisingly. Okay? And if you're here today and you're not dating, you're young and you're single, you're in middle school, you're in high school, listen, I want to encourage you, start practicing these things with other people. Start practicing these things with your parents. Practicing these things with your people in your class, with your teachers, with your principals, with people that you come into contact with. Because if we practice this, we will become the right person that we need to be to enter into a relationship. And what I'm going to use to teach it to you is a passage from the Bible that's incredibly, incredibly popular. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is actually referred to as the what chapter? Yeah, you went to Bible school one year. Okay, so the love chapter, right? And in fact, you can't just say love chapter, you have to go to the love chapter. That's how I feel like it should be said. It's the love chapter. And in it, Paul is not necessarily talking about romantic relationships. He's talking about the church in Corinth. They were struggling with some interpersonal relationships that were men and women were struggling with the giftedness in the church, and just exactly there were some that were maybe a little more prominent. They were looking down on others, and they were kind of making fun of others and talking bad about others. And Paul is trying to express to them the importance of utilizing their gifts, but at the same time going, exercise your gifts in love. When you interact with other people, let love be the motivating factor, the designing factor, the factor that kind of directs everything that you do. And just so that you know, here's what that love looks like. And so that's why this can apply in all sorts of relationships, especially romantic relationships. This is how he describes love. And we're not going to describe every kind of aspect of it. You guys are smart enough to read it on your own. We'll hit a few of these as time permits and kind of move on. The first thing he says is love is patient. Love is patient. So the first step in becoming the right person is to cultivate patience. You know what patience does? Patience never forces someone to do something that they don't want to do. Patience doesn't drug people to get them to do what they want to do. It doesn't manipulate people to get them to do what they want to do. Patience doesn't guilt trip people to get them to do what they want to do. Patience, love is being patient. Love is providing time. Love is not forcing. I actually thought this was a myth. I read about this, and then I started talking to some students and some college students, some singles, and I started to find out this is actually a thing. Like it's called the third date rule. You know this? That if I go on a third date with somebody, then that's the time we should sleep together after the third date. The third date rule. Like this kind of thing kind of exists. Like if you date somebody for a couple of dates, like it's expected that you're going to sleep together. That's just kind of it. That's not love. That's not being patient. Right? That's not waiting. That's not what Paul is describing here. In fact, I spoke with a college student that's attending, or used to attend, he just graduated UT Knoxville, and he was in a fraternity there. He said, our fraternities and sororities at UT Knoxville go on destination parties. I know the students at UT do the same thing. Destination party. We load up on buses, and we go to some place, a little ways away from our campus, and we'll have the party, and we'll stay overnight there in hotels. And what this student from UTK told me was that it's assumed that you're going to share a hotel room with your dad. It's assumed. In fact, if you want to make other arrangements, you have to make the arrangements. You have to figure out, you have to go and say, because it's just assumed that you're going to go to this destination party and you're going to sleep together. That's not love, being patient, right? That's forcing something and putting an expectation out there that shouldn't be there. I read an article from Vogue magazine in preparation for this series. It was talking about all the apps that you can use for hooking up now, Tinder being the most famous one, but there's others, OkCupid and so on and so forth. And they were talking to some folks in the process of writing this article. They were interviewing one particular guy, and he was saying, listen, I'm on Tinder, and it used to be, Tinder makes things so much easier. So it used to be that you go to a bar or Taco Bell, you go and you'd meet 2 or 3 girls, talk to 2 or 3 girls in the night, you may get one of their numbers, right? You may be able to set up a date next week with one of them. You may be able to work that into sleeping with them eventually, but Tinder allows me to swipe right on 300 or more women a week, set 5 to 7, somewhere between 3 and 7 Tinder dates a week, sleep with all of them. He was on track to sleep with 100 different women in that year. One of his buddies said, well, I'm not quite as good as he is. I'm only going to sleep with 50 different women. Love is patient. Love creates room. Love creates space. Love waits. Listen. In marriage, you know what this looks like? In marriage, this means that love has to require time for your spouse to process things sometimes. Love means that sometimes you have to take a time out from a conversation. Love may mean, right, that you have to allow time to heal, because we know reckless words pierce like a sword. They wound instantaneously, but the words of the wise bring healing, and sometimes that takes time. Sometimes that takes years. And love waits. Love is patient. He says next, love is kind. That means that love is considerate. That means that love lets the other choose. It defers to the other. And this is not just about where you're going to go out and eat. I'll tell you an example from my life. I'm ashamed that took 17 years of marriage for this to dawn on me, because quality time for me is sitting on the couch after the girls go to bed and watching TV. That's quality time for me, right? I don't have to think too hard about it. It's not a hard conversation, but we're together and we're watching TV. Jody gives me that concession. She's willing to come and sit on the couch with me. She even sits behind me and we watch TV. Up until a few months ago, though, when she would sit down with me, she would like be on her phone. She'd like scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest, or I don't know, maybe she's on Tinder. I don't know. And so like she's doing whatever on her phone. And I remember at one point a couple months ago looking over at her and going, would you please just put it down? Because we're having quality time. She was like, Jeremy, we're not talking. We're just watching TV. I was like, well, watch TV with me, right? You know what she said? I can't believe it took forever. She said, I don't even like that show. And all of a sudden it dawned on me. And I did something. Last night I did this. I handed her the remote and I said, what do you want to watch? Because being with you and being engaged in the same thing with you is a lot more important to me than what we're watching. What do you want to watch? Right? Love is kind. Love decides that I'm going to seek to understand before I seek to be understood. Love assumes I'm going to assume the best of the other person. I'm going to be kind about it. Love is patient, love is kind. How about this? It does not envy. It does not boast. Okay? Brian Regan, who's one of my favorite comedians in the world, he does a bit about the me monster. You guys have heard me talk about the me monster before. The me monster is that individual that always has a story that trumps yours. Right? Like, you show up at home group and you're like, man, I'm so excited, praise the Lord moment. I ran 3 miles today. And someone else in the group goes, well, I ran 5. Hey, I ran a marathon today. And the other person's like, I ran a triathlon. It's always one up. Like, hey, guess what? I got a $1,000 bonus from my job today. And they're like, well, I got a $2,000 bonus. Right? It's just like everything is about me. Brian Regan and I have wondered this, not together, but separately. We've wondered this. Like, is there one story that like trumps all other stories? Like, can Neil Armstrong, like, is he sitting around a table and people are talking, Buzz Aldrin, these guys are sitting around a table, and people are like, hey, we went to Sheboygan for vacation. And Neil Armstrong just go, well, I walked on the moon. Game over, right? Like, maybe there's like that story that trumps all the others. But Me Monsters are the ones all about me. I always have that story that trumps you. I always have that story that is one better than you. That's not love. Love doesn't always have to take the spotlight. Love doesn't always have to draw attention to themselves. In fact, love does the exact opposite of that, right? How about this when it comes to boasting? Love doesn't have to make the other person feel bad if you feel bad. Love can allow the other person to have success even when it means my failure. Like this, love doesn't dishonor others. This means love doesn't talk about others, it doesn't gossip about others, it doesn't tear others down, especially to build myself up. Listen, this is free right here for all of you women. This is big deal with us guys. Because we know we're not handy. And I can stand up on this stage and tell you that I'm not handy. But when Jody tells people I'm not handy, there's something inside of me that dies. Come on. Your wife may know she can't cook. But when you tell it to everybody else, there's something inside of her that's broken, that tears her down. I'm telling you, stop it. Love doesn't do that. Love does not dishonor others. Another way that we can kind of talk about that is love doesn't create regret. Love doesn't do things or cause people to have regret for what it is that they're going to do. I was telling the story in the first service. There's no reason I shouldn't tell it here. When I was in high school and college, I went out with different girls, obviously, and was involved in a couple different relationships that got very physical. Some of them very fast. And as I think back on those relationships, even as I thought about them in the years that followed, like I thought about them and I had regret. I was ashamed. I shouldn't have done that. Like that wasn't good, and I regretted it. And I got to thinking this week as I was writing this message, I got to thinking, I wonder, I bet that some of those women that I was involved with, I bet they probably have regret too. Love doesn't create regret. It doesn't dishonor others. Right? In fact, just the opposite of that. We'll move on. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. One of those TV shows that Jody doesn't like to watch, it's my favorite, is The Big Bang Theory. It's a little too close to home sometimes. But there's a character on the show, Sheldon Cooper. He is a physicist, and he's supposed to be this genius, and he is the most self-absorbed person in the world. Everything is about him. The temperature in the apartment has to be what he says. He has a particular place that he has to sit. He has to eat certain things on certain nights, and everybody else just kind of conforms to his will, right? And when he finally entered into a relationship with Amy Farrah Fowler, he wrote a relationship contract that outlined all of the ways that they were going to interact with each other, from date nights to holding hands to kissing, if that's ever going to come down the road. And it all benefited him. That's not love. Love is not self-seeking. Love seeks the benefit of the other. If you are in relationships and bouncing from guy to guy or girl to girl just so you can get some kind of sexual pleasure and use them and lose them and get rid of them, that's not love. You're not becoming the right person. Love is not self-seeking. Love, this is a big one for me. Love is not easily angered and keeps no record of wrongs. Love is not easily angered and keeps no record of wrongs. Listen, if you miss everything else I say, please hear this. You cannot deal with your spouse or your significant other and their momentary failure when you're holding on to every single one of their past mistakes. You can't deal with what's going on right now when you bring with it the baggage of everything else. Listen. Love holds no records of wrong. This is a big deal. Love forgives and love moves on. Love doesn't save it for ammunition later. Love doesn't save it as a trump card that you can play when you get backed into a corner and you have nowhere else to go. You can play that trump card, something they did that was so egregious, and it happened 2 years ago or it happened 20 years ago. It doesn't matter, but at least I didn't. At least I didn't cheat. At least I didn't cause us to go into debt. At least I didn't have a drug or drinking problem. At least I fill in the blank. That's not what love does. Listen, if you're holding a grudge, you're not the right person. Because love keeps no record of wrongs. I'm so convicted by this one. Because sometimes it's so hard to let go of it. But love keeps no record of wrongs. Keep going. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes. I love this. Let's talk about trust and hope for just a minute. When you get into a relationship, whether that's with a friend or whether that's with a spouse, whether that's a boyfriend or girlfriend, there are always gaps, always, between what you expect of them and what they bring to the table. You with me? There's always gaps. The world tells us we should fill that gap with skepticism, with questioning. We should fill that gap with distrust, right? Do you know what love does? When there's a gap between what's expected and what occurs, love fills the gap with trust and it fills the gap with hope. I'm going to trust that they have a good reason for doing that. I'm going to trust that they were out for my best interest. I'm going to hope for the best and believe the best. Why? Because that's what love does. Lastly, we'll move on. We've got to be. Love perseveres. In fact, it always perseveres. Do you know what that means? Love doesn't quit. Love doesn't give up. Love doesn't say it's too hard. You want to know how I know love doesn't give up and doesn't quit when it gets hard? It's because Jesus did it. He loved us all the way to the cross. It's too easy for us just to give up. The people we've committed to, we've coupled our lives to, friendships, children, parents, husbands, wives, too easy. Love doesn't quit. It perseveres. Next little line is on the screen. It says, love never fails. If we can start working on those things, if we can start practicing those things in the way that we deal with the people at the grocery store, if we can start practicing those things with our children, start practicing those things with our spouses, with our parents, with our friends, I'm telling you, we can begin to see a transformation in our lives and we can start becoming the right person. Whether it's before we get married or it's in the middle of our marriage, I'm telling you, you can start becoming the right person. But maybe you're just out there looking for the right person. Or maybe you're out there and you're hoping your spouse will become the right person. You can't control other people. You're not going to change other people. The only person you have control over and can change is yourself. Will you start becoming the right person? And the way we're going to help you do that is you should have gotten a card. It was on your seat when you came in. If you didn't get one, there's some up here on the front row because y'all are bad. Y'all are way back there. Anyway, grab one of these. And it goes through 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the passage that we read today. And it's real simple. It just says love is patient, kind. It goes through all the things we just read. And I wanted you to have this card. Because I want you to put it somewhere where you're going to see it. You can put it in a book you're reading. You can use it as a bookmark. You can put it on a mirror in your bathroom. I can put it on your refrigerator. Put it somewhere where you're going to see it. I encourage you to memorize it. And your interactions with other people, start practicing this so that you can become the right person. So that one day when you meet the right person, you're ready. And you'll have more than just chemistry. You know what's interesting? 1 Corinthians chapter 13 ends in a way that kind of doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you, but I love the way that it ends. And we're going to read. I want to jump to verse 11 and then just read this for you. This is what Paul says as he's wrapping up this chapter on love, or moving towards the end of this chapter on love. He says this: when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. And when I became a man, you can take out the word man and put adult in there. When I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Listen, this is big. The right person myth is childish. It's a fairy tale. It works great for princesses at Disney World. It is not the way real relationships work. It's the way children think about relationships. It's time for us to move past the right person myth and stop looking for the right person and start becoming the right person. In just a minute, we're going to pray. And I'm going to ask you to respond just as you're praying. And I want you to begin praying, whether you're married or single or not even, there's not even a guy or a girl on the spectrum, whatever it is. And as you're thinking about those relationships, I want you to start asking yourself the question, where is it that I'm not becoming the right person? What are the things on this list that Paul gave us am I not actively trying to become? Am I too busy looking for the right person, or am I actively trying to be the right person? Am I too busy trying to get my spouse to become the right person, or am I actively trying to become the right person? And I want you to pray, as I'm praying, that God would reveal that to you. And then here's the thing. This is what I can't tell you individually. I want God to tell you, what are the steps you need to take to start becoming the right person? You know the scariest part? For some of you, it may mean that you have to end a relationship. For some of you, the first step you need to take is to go, we can't date anymore. Right? That's frightening. We can't date because I'm not the right person. And I want to become the right person before we become a we. So I pray you guys undoubtedly may want to talk to somebody more, talk about the next steps for you. Where does it go? Pray with somebody. Maybe you just want somebody to pray with you. I want to invite you back to what we're going to call our starting point room. It's back here by the prayer table. Back there, our elders are going to be. Some of our elders' spouses are going to be back there. My wife is going to be back there. If as we're praying or after the service, you want to talk with somebody, you want to pray with somebody, I just want to invite you back there to go and figure out how you can apply this simple principle to your life and start becoming the right person. We pray for us. God, I thank you so much that you not only showed us through Paul's writing what the right person looks like, but you modeled it for us in your Son, Jesus Christ. God, right now in this room, we have people that are in the 6th grade. We have people that have been married for 50 years. And God, no matter where they are, help them to find the truth in this Scripture. Help them to start working on or to continue honing their own being. Help them to deal with the issues that they have before they get married, or if they're married now, I pray that you give their spouse patience as they work together to become the right people. God, forgive us for buying into a childish myth. And right now, I pray that you would point out to us those areas where we're not becoming the right person. Give us the wisdom to see those things. And God, give us the courage to do whatever it takes. Be that to end a relationship. Be that take time off dating. Be that going to see a counselor. Be that just spending time modeling our lives after Jesus. Thank you for Christ. Thank you for His example. Help us as we seek to become the right person. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Thank you guys so much.